The story of the first human family centers on a widely recognized crime. Deep in a stark, barren field, Cain commits the first murder by striking down his brother, Abel. Given the severity of the crime, the immediate expectation is a swift execution. But God confronts Cain and issues a spatial punishment rather than a death sentence. Cain is physically exiled eastward to a region called the Land of Nod. He is permanently banished from his family, and specifically from the direct presence of God. God then takes a counterintuitive step. To prevent anyone from hunting Cain down and enacting vigilante justice, God places a specific protective mark on him. By leaving the first murderer alive and protected, a historical vacuum opens up. Cain is isolated, wandering the earth, and positioned to build a legacy that few would have predicted. Instead of fading into obscurity as a wandering nomad, Cain defies the expectations of his exile. He stops his wandering and constructs the very first human city. This genealogical tree maps out a rapid sequence of foundational human advancements, all branching from a single node. Cain's direct descendants are the ones who invent organized agriculture, create the first musical instruments, and master early metallurgy. This creates a difficult question. Why does the biblical record of human civilization, art, and technological progress originate strictly from the cursed lineage of a murderer? Genesis chapter 4, verse 12 describes the specific mechanics of Cain's curse. The earth will no longer yield its strength to him. This is a total ecological excommunication. Cain can no longer survive as a traditional tiller of the ground because the natural world itself refuses to cooperate with his labor. With the natural world entirely hostile to his survival, Cain is forced to shift his strategy. He is compelled to rely strictly on human engineering and artificial structures. The moment he arrives in the land of Nod, he begins constructing the city of Enoch. He builds walls and infrastructure to artificially replicate the shelter and provision he lost when he was banished from his original home. The invention of the city here is a trauma response, a desperate necessity to survive a world that has been cursed against him. The lineage tracing Cain's descendants reaches a peak with Lamech. He represents the culmination of this self-made civilization. Under Lamech, ingenuity reaches new levels. His first son, Jabal, pioneers the use of tents and the large-scale management of livestock. His second son, Jubal, invents the harp and the organ, establishing the foundations of human culture and the fine arts. Finally, his son Tubal-Cain makes the critical leap into heavy industry, working as an instructor of brass and iron artisanship. But this technological peak occurs alongside severe moral decay. Lamech introduces the first recorded instance of polygamy and rules his advanced society through escalated violence and vengeance. This violence echoes the ancient enmity between the serpent and the woman, established in the previous chapter. Because Cain's line manifests this same rebellion against God's design, it is defined as the seed of the serpent, a highly advanced society that remains fundamentally alienated from its creator. Lamech's civilization is the archetype of the world. It is a people using brass, iron, and industry to build a self-reliant utopia that compensates for their divine exile. The text then moves away from the noise and metal of Cain's industrial cities, transitioning back to Adam and Eve in a quieter setting. Eve gives birth to a new son named Seth. The text identifies him as the divinely appointed replacement for Abel, the son Cain murdered. Seth later has a son of his own, Enos. According to verse 26, the birth of Enos marks the moment when humanity first begins to collectively call upon the name of the Lord. While Cain's descendants built physical monuments and forged iron to secure their survival, Seth's descendants initiated a culture of spiritual dependence. Genesis 4 presents two lineages developing side by side. Cain's line attempts to conquer a broken world through heavy industry and urbanization, leading to power but breeding conflict. Seth's line approaches the world through spiritual restoration and reliance on the divine. This ancient chapter presents two ways of existing in a difficult world. It forces us to look at our own highly advanced technological society and ask which of these two archetypes we actually reflect today.